Britain, Germany and Slovenia, first, second and third last year, meet again with just one crew change amongst the three boats. Well, here are the French. 1993, the last time that the French won this title. Next to them in lane number 2 are Italy. Raffaello Leonardo in the 2-seat, the only survivor from last year's crew that finished 6th. Then in lane number 3, the champions. An interrupted preparation, including the replacement of Ed Code by the tall Josh West. In lane 4, the Germans. Unchanged since finishing second to Great Britain a year ago, the reigning World Cup champions. Then the Dutch, who include 3 men from the quad that finished second in last year's Worlds and the Sydney Olympics. Dirk Lippitt's the other man who finished 4th earlier in the day in the single sculls. And in lane 6, Slovenia. In the bow, the over-30s, Janis Klemencic and Milan Jansa. And at stroke and at 3, the two 20-year-olds, Matti Prilog and Rock Kolander.
Well, there's a big rivalry here between Great Britain, the world champions, and the men they beat by a couple of feet last year, Germany. But Germany have been moving very well this season. They've improved their rowing technique. They're rowing much more effectively. And Great Britain suffered a little bit from having to take 6 weeks off with illness and losing Ed Code as well. But they've recovered well, and they're certainly in here as great challengers. It's been 2 wins each between Germany and Great Britain through this season.
Yeah, there's not been much between them at any stage, and the clock suggests it's going to be pretty close again. But it is, Dan, usually a race of 2 halves. The Germans establishing themselves in the first half, the British coming with a rush during the second 1,000 metres.
Well, yes, and Carlo Monati sitting in the stroke seat there for Italy. He's the man who was stroking the Italian for this stern pair, with a stern pair that ran Redgrave's 4 at the Olympics to such a close finish and took the silver medal. He's now taken a year off and is back, but it's these people here who we are hoping to see move through where they like to move through at 1,200 metres. That's when they go right through the field.
Yeah, Rick Dunn there in the stroke seat. You can pick out the British boat very easily, the blue and white boat, and then the pink boat for Germany. Closest to you at the moment, though, it is Slovenia, who are well up with the pace, and at the top of the picture, also France, well to the fore. French not actually having a particularly outstanding regatta.
But they're certainly doing a very good job at the moment, because they're heading the field here, just that fraction ahead of Germany. Germany at 38 strokes a minute, sitting quite upright, but very clean rowing, very well together there. You can see how much better they are than last year. They're very connected there, quite upright, good hard drive with the legs, and Great Britain at 37, just sitting about a length down on them. So a good start from Great Britain. This is more or less where they don't mind to be. They like to be a good, at least in contact at halfway, and then they motor up and move right through. Very cool rowing there from the British. But the Netherlands transferring into the rowing boat from the quad scull, moving well, moving their boat well, and did well to make this final. But Germany now have moved back through France, and they are about 3/4 of a length up on the British. You can just see the blue of the British boat there in the left-hand corner.
The youngsters in foreground there for Slovenia. And the Slovenians, after a fast start now, just losing touch now as the Germans start to make their presence felt. They are in the lead now, and ahead of the French on the far side. Just inside the French, the Italians, who are ahead of Great Britain. And those are the closest crews. But the Germans with Bernd Heidecker, Philipp Steuer, and then Paul Dinsbach and Sebastian Thormann, they're the men who are in charge at the moment at the halfway stage in the race. This crew put together by Dieter Gran, John West, the man who looks after the British 4, who today are looking to make it 3 in a row, because of course they won the Cox Fours back in 2000. Last year took this title, so they want to complete the hat-trick.
Absolutely, and they are tracking the German crew, but it's Italy who've actually still got the second place at the moment. But Great Britain, this is about where Great Britain wants to move. This is where they like to go. It is getting pretty rough out there, quite difficult, especially if you're chasing. It's better to be in rough water and looking back on the field, because you can see the mistakes they make. When you're 2 or 3 feet down on a crew, every mistake you make is magnified. But here comes Great Britain, there are Italy. This is going to be a fantastic finish here. Can Germany hold on? They didn't last year. They were rode down just in the last part of the race. But here they are now, about a third of a length up on Italy, and Great Britain threatening at 1,400 metres.
Yeah, the interesting thing at the moment, Dan, is that the Italians are moving just as fast as the British. So the British having a tussle. Rick Dunn trying to get the British past the Italians, but at the moment, Monati's denying him that particular office.
Well, Monati's a great finisher, but they caught some very nasty crabs just there. They got very unsettled. That allowed the British to get a few more feet up on them. And now it's a very close race. Can the cool Rick Dunn in the stroke seat for the British do what he did last year and pull back? Here they come. They are now about a half a length down on Germany. Germany been here before. What can they do to hold them off?
Yeah, but still Italy, though, in second place. And Rick Dunn, Toby Garbett, Josh West, the man who came in for Ed Code in the two-seat. Very easy to see, all 2 metres and 6 centimetres of him. And then Stephen Williams, who sometimes, Dan, still says that he doesn't like being the bow man. But now they're getting the better of the argument. Rick Dunn has got that British bow into second place. And now the race is on. Here comes the big surge.
Look at the move. They are sitting there with a very nice sweeping stroke. The Germans have reacted. They're up to 44 strokes a minute. They are still holding them off. And Great Britain moving through. Great Britain now just a few feet behind, about a metre down. And they've only got about 200 metres, 150 metres to go in this race. Both crews up at 42.
Yeah, less than that now, Dan. And the Germans finding that little bit extra. The British, Rick Dunn still bringing that British four ever closer, coming towards the line. It's now just a foot or so, but the Germans answering again. The British, it will be on, no it won't. I thought it was going to be on the surge, but the Germans do indeed get there. And the British just held off in second place, with Italy taking the bronze. A superb race there, and you've got to hand it to the Germans, Dan. They really did row that well.
Well, they just reacted at every point. They went out in front like they usually do. They held well in the middle of the race. The British did exactly what they were intending to do, came through hard in the middle of the race, but Germany were waiting for them. They were prepared for that last 150 metres, and they held them off. And Italy did very well, but caught a number of difficult crabs there just when it counted. And there's Carlo Monati. They'll be back next year with a much better performance, I'm sure.
There's the margin of victory, and Italy just a length down in third place ahead of the Slovenians. Well, Germany worthy winners, holding off the 1 minute 23.41 charge with the British in the final quarter. The first four crews all within Norway's previous world best time. First German success in the men's four since unification in 1990, and I must say I'm already looking forward to next year's renewal in Milan.